Have you ever said no to something and then maybe you didn't like it, maybe you judged the person or the thing, and sometime later you found out or had another chance to do this thing and it became one of the best opportunities of your whole life? I had one of those recently and I want to tell you about it. And it kind of fits with what I was talking about a while ago, those three P words: predictable, possible, and potential. And I always have to add on life's potential to remember which one that is. Maybe it'll help you too. Predictable, let me just review for a minute, is really the expectable. Your predictable income is about what you make every month, or your expectable relationships, are from your beliefs, from your experience, from the way we interact with people. We tend to repeat ourselves, right? We tend to expect and find pretty much in life what we expect. So that's the predictable. The possible is when we can envision something going well. So this is the start of the new year, and many people are very hopeful. They're going to go to the gym, they're going to lose weight, they're going to stop smoking. And if you don't have those kinds of expectations you put on yourself, then maybe it's a gentler version, but you do see possibility for yourself. Like, even when we say Happy New Year to everyone we meet, or a lot of people, what are we saying? We actually think it's possible to have a Happy New Year. I tend to not say Happy New Year because from listening to me that I'm pretty much one of those people that feels more positive when I include the polarities. So you're not going to just have a happy year. You can have a blissful year if you can ride the waves of what happens that you didn't prefer. So, um, I tend to try to be conscious about what I say, and I might say blessings to you in the new year, which doesn't sound like I expect only blessings. It's just a little thing for me, um, not anything that I'm actually suggesting anybody else do. But so, when you make dinner, or let's say for a dinner party, you think it's possible that the dinner will come out, that the guests will have a good time, that you'll have fun, right? It's more than expectable. It's that edge of, maybe it won't just be all right, but maybe it'll be, super wonderful, or better than all right, or find your own words, but you know what I mean, right? And then this is the part that I'm so intrigued with, that I think adds another dimension. And it also connects with those in this community who live a very surrendered life, or try to, who uh, who love the unexpected, who plan for miracles. What is a miracle? A miracle, if you get away from A Course in Miracles, a miracle is when things are beyond what you even expected. I guess if you expect miracles, but I think I'd like to reserve life's potential for those surprising miracles, those surprising outcomes that you didn't see coming. Um, it's fine to include in miracles, um, resolution to a relationship and all those things. I'm not trying to win any wars on definitions or get into any battles about what things mean, because I want to get to my story about uh, how I turned something down uh, a couple of years ago. So let me tell you the specifics. And it became this same person and this same offering that I judged a couple of years ago became a highlight of my December, and I think a big opening in my life, and definitely beyond what I thought was possible. Definitely, definitely, definitely. It was not in my imagination that this could happen the way it happened. So, a couple of years ago, someone recommended me to a podcast, and it was called Grief and Rebirth. It's Irene Weinberg, and it's a non-traditional kind of podcast. So the people thought I was perfect. The person who recommended me thought I was a great match. I thought I was a great match. And then the kibosh happened. So couple of years ago, I'd just written a book. I was a newbie in this world of podcasts, a newbie in the world of entrepreneurship. And when you write a book, you unwittingly or wittingly get into being a business owner, because that's the way books are marketed, and it's just a whole world. It's possible to write a book and not do any of that, but most of us end up, and I had a special reason for creating a business because of my experience with Melissa. And this is January, and she died in January. So it's especially sacred to me to honor Melissa every day of my life with messages that were super important to her. She was a person at the end of her life who had deep convictions and was very surrendered with the messages she heard. And I'd never met anybody who followed to that extreme ideas that did not seem to be coming from her personality, like wear these short shorts and buy these short shorts when you're not the body type for short shorts, and then wear these short shorts. And Melissa said, Mom, I look ridiculous, but she wore them. And she did all kinds of things, but I won't get lost in that story. So back to my story. A couple of years ago, I'm recommended, and then the people want um, there are a couple of ways to be on that podcast, but they all offended me because I was used to podcasts being free, and I basically don't make money on my business ventures. Everything is very low cost, and by the time you pay all the staff everywhere, um, it's not about making money. That's not why I'm doing any of what I do. So that's all right. But paying a certain amount of money to be on the podcast. And then there was another way. You could become an affiliate with her, meaning she's an affiliate with a program that you are selling. Well, I wasn't selling anything on grief. I have a book. Um, but what could it just the whole thing, like what? Like it just, I didn't get it. Uh, she in this for the money, the kinds of judgments we make especially when we don't understand. I now see affiliates as a wonderful thing. So, an affiliate means you give a percentage, 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever you want to give to a referral source. And then that person can receive it as a thank you, or they can pass on that money to the person taking the course or the program or whatever it is and enjoy the benefits. And then you have people coordinating with you. You have a bigger um, group of people to include in your community. You cannot do this all by yourself. And that's big learning for me, seeing how to network with people, what to do for them, and what to ask for. Asking has been huge. Okay. So then there were about 6 pages of in-depth questions. I don't even remember them all. I just looked at it and went, oh my God. Because I'd been invited on with no preparations and no 6 pages. So I just thought that was the norm, but I didn't stop to think how much she loves her podcast and how she wants the right people for her community. And so I took things in the predictable way that I was seeing things at the time. I was expecting free podcasts and so on. You could figure out all the things that were predictable. I'd never heard of affiliates. I'd never heard of partnerships and money exchanges. That was brand new to me. And as a psychotherapist, we never did those things years ago, doctors, therapists, and even they weren't really coaches, but nobody that was worth their weight in gold or ethics advertised or marketed. So it's all a whole new world. So back to my story. So I never thought, no, I won't do this podcast. I thought I just put it behind other things, and it got behind my TEDx proposal. It got behind most other things, and it never got done. Come December, we're about just a week or so into December, and I get an invitation from Irene and the podcast. Would I like to be a takeover host? I never heard of a takeover host, but this time it wasn't my predictable response. I went to possible. This is possible now. Now I've already heard of affiliates. Everybody I know in business wants to be an affiliate with somebody else they respect. They want to be supported and they want to support others. But I didn't know about any of that. My mind changed, my beliefs changed, but I still didn't have a course. But did I want a course? What would my course be? And then I started getting downloads. What is the program that would have helped me when I was lost in grief? First of all, I didn't even know I needed a program. I was so far away from that. I mean, grief was grief. I thought my life was over, make the best of it. I didn't show on the outside after the first few months exactly what I was feeling because people don't want to hear that. And what do you say? It's you can't bring her back. And that's grief. That's the stages of grief. You cycle through them. Excuse me a minute. I thought I could find something I wanted to share, but I can't. So never mind, I'll just wing it. So I didn't know there was any place. I knew that the stages of grief were not of interest to me. I knew what they were. But I thought I would have to stay in them because what we've done with those stages is expect either that they'll lead to the final stage. So it's shock, denial, anger, bargaining, and acceptance. Shock, denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance can come in any order, but the thing I did know from my own experience is acceptance does not happen as a result of those other stages. Those other stages are actually a fight with what happened. Why did it happen? If only, if I could have, if they should have, if you do you see, um, so angry at the person if they committed suicide, or anger that they didn't take care of their health, or that they had an addiction, or that things were unresolved. And if they were unresolved, then you blame yourself, you blame the person. One leads to anger and the other leads to depression. You get the picture. So I was already aware that actually, I believed what I thought was predictable at that time is that I would stay in misery and suffering the rest of my life. So, fast forward back to December. I started getting so excited because there was a part of EMDR that that's the eye movement trauma work, and that was very, very effective. And there was one little step that was enormously helpful. And you asked the client, you checked out their feelings, you check out what happened, they go back into the experience. But you ask, how would you like to be able to view this? What you're basically asking, what would your vision be? Now, if you were raped, you cannot, as far as this protocol, say, I wish I wasn't raped. See, like that's like the fighting of the stages of grief. It happened. But a vision could be, I'd like to feel like I did whatever I could in that situation. Can you see how, if how the kind of peace a person could come to if that was their vision? And then we have a way to test it when we do the eye movement, and we test by numbers how close we are in the body to getting there. Well, that's just one neurosomatic tool that I was shown years ago. And I did that work, and it was very, very effective. And then I've been getting advanced training in tapping, which is also very successful in releasing beliefs in the body and then being open to a new belief. And that's where the vision comes in. A really good friend of mine, um, she's actually a colleague, has a best-selling book called The Yes Code, and it's about tapping with your next yes. So I have been implementing that tapping with your next yes and found it very, very successful. It's because it does the belief work. So when we're stuck in grief, there is a belief that the suffering is commensurate with our love for the person. And there are about 13 beliefs that are in my grief quiz that I'll put in the show notes, in the musing notes, in the email that you get. But can you just take that one belief? If I believe that if I suffer a lot, It means it's proof that I loved Melissa and the whole world can see how much I loved her. And so I'm cemented into suffering. Can you see there's no way out if that is my belief? And along with that, there is no permission from society to thrive, to have a bigger life in honor for your person. Yes, you can find meaning. Yes, you can find acceptance, but true happiness again, there's always that comment, well, it's going to always hurt. Yes, you'll always miss that person. Yes, it's not the same. There's a lot of attachment in grief. So when we confuse attachment and love, it becomes very confusing. No one will ever be like Melissa. Christmas will never be like it was with Melissa. But that's attachment. That is not love. The love will never die. It only increases when I honor her. The attachment we have to let go of. That's part of that predictable. That's part of what's possible or impossible. It was impossible for me to believe that Melissa could die before me. I mean, yes, she was overweight, quote unquote. So there were times I did envision it could happen. But most of the time, we don't expect actually anyone to die. We more live as though everyone's immortal, even though in our heads we know that's not true. We know it, but we don't live as though we have only a short time with everyone, shorter with some than others. So back to December. So they offer, her team offers me be a takeover host. What is that? It means I do the whole thing myself. Irene is either away or doing whatever it is she does. She ultimately introduces me, but she's not present to interview like in some podcasts. So I get to do this creative experience, and then I create a program, including only tidbits of what I was just sharing. What I'm sharing is only tidbits in the program. It's so expansive and it will depend on who shows up and on their people. It won't be a cookie cutter. It will include all of my skills and all of me. And I feel so strongly that this needs to be both an investment from the people who are curated and chosen for this group because they are ready to invest and they are ready for all in for a different belief system. They don't know how to get there. That's my job. I know how to get there. I've lived this since 2018. I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And I'm all in, and I want people who are all in as well. So in this community, it's a little bit unusual to offer something with a higher investment. And I am offering a money back guarantee for anybody who does the work and is dissatisfied that the promise of new possibilities, a new vision, and a new passion for life doesn't happen if they're disappointed and they've done the less than 5 minutes of homework a day. If they do that, money back guarantee, 100%. So I'm going to include in the notes, the email, a link to the page so you can read some more about it. And but I want us all, whether you know someone who's right for this or not, I want us all to use life's potential. Do you see how this time I was open? The same day I got the inquiry, she wanted to know, how am I going to do the whole podcast, like the whole notes. I filled it all out that day. The 6 pages did not block me this time. So yes, you could say the time was right. Uh, God, the universe, life was not wanting me to do it before. And so we're really not in charge of those movements when it's our time. But we can ask ourselves, am I in predictable, possible, or am I open to life's potential? And I think just asking ourselves that is very grounding and is also very truth bearing. And truth is one of the most opening doorways and grounding places in life because it's real. It's what happened. It's what's happening now. But when we tell the truth to ourselves, it's like being washed clean. And the next moment is new because that's only true of the last moment. So I filled it all out. I did the podcast. I wrote a quiz with all the false beliefs because I wanted people to answer true or false. Do you have this belief or do you have that belief? Really, it was all about the false beliefs. And I wanted people to recognize that they're holding them because that's a jail. So we can also take this to our own lives. Where are we jailing ourselves into the predictable? So if I still felt unready or didn't have the movement, I could at least say, add on with my no, if there was a no. I could add on, well, I'm unpredictable and I don't see myself doing this now. That would lead me to possibly another time. Do you see what I'm saying? Let's just name it because those of you who are looking for miracles, staying in the predictable will keep us from miracles because our back of our brain, our RAS, will seek confirmation of what we believe. And it's good at doing that, and it will always do that. So if we believe life is orange, we will see orange more than the other colors. So I'm trying to make it very concrete. So and if you're stuck, maybe you're not in grief, but you're stuck in your beliefs about your friend, your partner, your life. Just name it as the predictable. You might even say, I wonder what's possible and make a list of that if you can. And then see if you might be open to life's potential. So write me if you want to play the 3P game with me, because I'm turned on to it. I love what happened. I love the podcast. I love this course. I don't know if I will ever do it again. I'm going to do it limited to 8 people, and I'm giving it all my skills, all my passion, all my purpose with a dose of Melissa added in. So bye for now, and let me know what you think.